Hey, what's up everybody? This is Grey here, and today we're going to talk about rosemary. What I'm going to be doing with the rosemary is I'm going to be giving her a haircut. That's how I like to call it. But anyways, basically I'm going to trim the rosemary, and I figured I would just show this to you guys for some folks that are interested. We'll touch on a couple other things in how to dry it, how to use it in your foods. Also, we'll look at some medicinal properties and some stuff like that. So, that being said, what you want to do with rosemary is, of course, you usually want to let it grow at least 8 inches high. You know what I mean? You don't really want to harvest anything past below 8 inches. So you don't want to stifle the plant. Also, when you cut off a rosemary, or you want to harvest rosemary, you want to just cut off about 2 inches or so. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll do a buzz cut and come across, depending on the length of my rosemary and whatnot, and cut off right about 2 inches. You know what I mean? And usually you want to do most of this, depending on the weather that you're in, roughly in the spring or summertime. If you're going to do this closer towards wintertime, you want to be a little bit careful, because if you cut her down too much, it might stifle its growth for the following season. It is a perennial, it does grow back. Rosemary is pretty robust and easy to grow, to be honest with you. So what I got to do is I got my little handy dandy sneers here, shears and sneers, that's what I like to call them, in a little bowl. And I'm just going to collect some of this rosemary while I sit here and talk to you. Now, some people will say, well, can you measure 2 inches? You know, I usually go cut pretty close. And this is, like I said, this is going to be a little bit bigger than 2 inches. And I come right about here, and I'm just going to snip that just like that. Put that guy in the bowl, and then kind of go around otherwise. And this will actually help it grow. You can see I've already done some trimming. Usually I do this, I only grab a couple for dinner and whatnot. Rosemary has a lot of different benefits too, outside of just the flavor in itself. But I will cut up about 2 inches of a few of these and drop them in this bowl. And like I said, you know what? This one I'm going to cut a little bit more to bring it down, just to right about there. And I'll tell you one thing, fresh rosemary is the way to go. See, that's kind of, yeah, pretty much even there. You know what I mean? I don't really want to go too far with it. I like to keep it even so I can kind of see the growth in these plants. Now, what I'm going to do with this, if you notice, there's just a little bit of the rosemary in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be using this for tonight's dinner. That's why I came out here and cut it, and I said, you know what, I'll make a video. I've been wanting to talk about rosemary for quite some time. Now, here's the great thing about rosemary. If you want to, let's say, you can dehydrate rosemary if you like, but you want to be careful, because you want to go at a low heat, because rosemary doesn't retain much water inside of its leaves and whatnot. Fresh rosemary usually has the most robust flavor. Now, that being said, if you want to dry out rosemary in itself, you can take a couple of these bundles, you know what I mean, and use what I call a little bit of twine, and you want to kind of put this in a, let's say, a dark, dry, well-ventilated area, and in about 10 days, it'll be pretty dry enough, and then you're just going to basically, move all the leaves. You're going to cut down the stem, and you're going to push all this, and all the leaves are going to fall off. Now, what you can do then is then put that in a sealed jar, preferably some people will use the ball jars and stuff like that. I use some of these other jars that have a seal on them and store it by the stove. That being said, dried rosemary kind of can last almost indefinitely. And yeah, the sun is getting to me, but hey, it is what it is. It's Florida, and we get lots of sunshine. So that being said, I know I get on these side topics sometimes, but that being said, being that it can last indefinitely in your pantry, in like a what I want to say, it's just a vacuum sealed jar, or a where you're removing the oxygen. There's a name for it, and it besieges me to come in my mind because I'm on the camera. But anyways, you guys get the idea. So that being said, what I've noticed with rosemary itself, and the research that I've done over the years, is that rosemary retains its flavor, at least the most potent flavor, for about a year. Now again, fresh rosemary, you're going to get the best flavor out of. You'll still get some decent flavor out of the dried rosemary that you have in your pantry, but after a year, it'll start to taper down a bit. But rosemary can pretty much last dang near indefinitely after you dry it. Now, some folks will take rosemary and freeze it or keep it in their fridge. The freezing process is nice, and you can keep it in there for quite some time as well, if you have power per se. And in the refrigerator, usually if you have rosemary, you want to keep it in, like I say, a vacuum sealed bag, like you have a food saver or whatnot, you can do that as well. What I've noticed is after about a couple of weeks, the rosemary just doesn't have that potency anymore, and so I'd rather just keep the dried rosemary on hand, or if not, do what I'm doing today and cut the rosemary. All right, so what outside of cooking with rosemary, what kind of health benefits does it have? And there's several that you can look at rosemary. One thing I did want to bring up, a lot of folks, someone asked me in chat a while back, is that if you have a deer problem, a deer getting into your vegetable garden or whatnot, and you have a problem with deer, for some reason, deer don't like the smell of rosemary, and they stay way clear of it. There's been lots of research and examples done of this. You can talk to some people who probably use rosemary to keep deer away from their foods that they're growing. It's just like that kryptonite for deer. But that being said, moving on into the health benefits. So let's look at rosemary's health benefits. So rosemary produces, if you guys are familiar with manganese, which is an essential nutrient for metabolic health. Stuff like heals things, like it helps with blood clotting and other things of that nature. Also, it's been used as an antiviral, an antibiotic, an antibiotic, an antifungal. It just has a lot of medicinal properties, this amazing plant. And it's related to the evergreens. Some of you folks might relate to, like, let's say pine needle tea and stuff like that, because you can have rosemary tea, which is awesome as well. It's also known to help with stuff like with liver health, eye health, and one thing that you do want to avoid if you're pregnant, you might want to stay away from using rosemary because it's known to stimulate menstrual cycles and whatnot. So if you're pregnant, you want to stay away from rosemary. That's the only thing that I could ever recommend to people that it might be a con in regards to rosemary, but if you happen to be pregnant, something to stay away from and something to be aware of. So I think all in all, rosemary is great to have on the dinner table. Besides its nice flavor, I mean, it just smells so good. But I think, and like I said, it's really easy to grow. You can grow this indoors as long as it gets enough light. It doesn't really need too much water, depending on where you live and stuff like that. I water her probably about once a week or so, and it's just a dusting of water. I mean, I just take the hose and I kind of go over it just a little bit, not too much, not like how I do with these tomato plants here, and some of my purple hall peas and stuff like that. And you know who is a water hog? I don't know if you guys are into eggplants. This is my Japanese eggplant, and she's fruiting right now. I don't know if you can see that on camera way over there, but she is fruiting all over the place. And this is what they call a Japanese eggplant, and she is always thirsty. I at least have to water her every other day due to the Florida heat. And now I'm going off topic because we're sitting here talking about rosemary, but I just see all these wonderful plants around here, and it's nice to be in your garden. I mean, just you pick a tomato and just so good. Be able to do that in your garden is great. I think it's awesome. Like I said, I need to do a garden video for you guys so that you guys can kind of see where we're at with the garden. She's doing well. We got the black cherries, the cherry 100s, purple hall peas are starting to bloom. We got this tomato plant. We got some heirloom tomatoes back there. What else? We got some icicle radishes in there, eggplants, peppers. I mean, all kinds of fun stuff around here. I'm just kind of looking around me. My sunflowers are starting to pop up too. I see some peppers over there, some Swiss chard. I know it's probably not the best thing to do is eat on camera, but I had someone complain about me drinking on camera one time. I thought that was enjoyable, but can't make everybody happy. Anyways, folks, not to take up too much of your time today, but rosemary, if you can grow it, it's awesome. I'm telling you, it's a very easy plant to grow, and like I said, you can use it in the kitchen. Very easy to dry, very easy to maintain. It's one of those herbs that you can put in your pantry and keep there for long periods of time. We always like to talk about long-term food storage. Well, this is one of those herbs that you can use in that format. And the little gnats are on my face. Anyways, folks, I think that about wraps it up. If you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments. I love to hear from you folks. I truly do. Do you grow rosemary? What do you use rosemary for? Do you just use rosemary for cooking? Do you use it for medicinal purposes? Are you into the essential oils when it comes to rosemary? Because that helps as well. I think someone had reminded me about, if you breathe in essential oil, the rosemary essential oil for 20 minutes a day, that it's good for your respiratory system and whatnot like that. Anyways, I'm not too very well versed in the essential oil aspect of things. I'd like to move down that direction, but I have so much other stuff on my plate. Anyways, folks, I'm gonna go take this rosemary and make some dinner and then edit this video for you guys. So I appreciate that. If you got any value out of this, please hit that thumbs up button. Truly appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow night on the live stream. Take care and stay safe, folks. You're not alone. Grey's here with you. Anyways, God bless. See you on the rebound.